Time is money sounds smart until you follow the logic all the way through. If your income stops when you stop, then your body is the engine and your time is the inventory. Both are limited and both run out faster than most people want to admit. So even if you earn well, you can still be trapped inside a model with a hard ceiling. Because when every dollar depends on your presence, you are not building freedom. You are renting out your life in manageable looking pieces. This video is about why that model feels safe, why it becomes a problem over time, and how to start moving from one-to-one labor into work that can keep paying after the effort is finished. Not hype, not quit your job, just a clearer way to understand how income changes when you stop being the only source of it. Let's start with the basic math because this is where the ceiling shows up. Most people try to improve their income by raising their rate or getting a better salary. That makes sense. If your hour is worth more, your income goes up, but the structure underneath it usually stays the same. A normal work year is roughly 2,000 hours. So at $50 an hour, you land around $100,000 a year. At $100 an hour, you get to about $200,000. That sounds strong, and for many people it is. But the catch is still there. You only get paid while the engine is running. And in real life, the ceiling is often lower than the headline number suggests. 2 unpaid weeks off, a slow month, or even 5 billable hours lost each week can pull that total down more than people expect. That means you have to keep showing up, keep performing, and keep delivering. Over time, that matters more than people think. Your time is limited, your energy is limited, your focus is limited too. Even if your skill improves, the model does not suddenly become infinite. So yes, you can get better at what you do, you can charge more, you can move into more valuable work. But if you are still selling hours, you are still inside the same basic structure. It may be a higher ceiling, but it is still a ceiling. That is the part people often miss. The problem is not that the work is bad. The problem is that the income stops when you stop moving. Not because you failed, not because you lacked ambition, just because that is how the model works. So if the ceiling is built into the model, why do so many people stay there for so long? Because it feels safe. And in some ways it is. You do the work, you get paid. The loop is clean. The feedback is immediate. Your bank understands it. Your family understands it. Your friends understand it. There is a lot of comfort in a system where the rules are visible and the reward arrives on schedule. By contrast, building something that does not depend on your daily presence works very differently. You often put in effort first and only see the result later, sometimes much later. The payoff can be uneven. It can be small at first. Sometimes it does not show up at all for a while. That gap is what makes the one-to-one model so sticky. It is not just about money. It is about certainty. A salary or an hourly rate gives people something solid to stand on. And when life is expensive, certainty is hard to walk away from. For example, if your monthly bills are $3,500 and your paycheck reliably covers them every month, that feels stable. Earning your first $300 from something you built on the side is objectively smaller, but psychologically it can feel less real because it is uneven and unproven. So most people do not choose linear income because they are lazy or uncreative. They choose it because it feels predictable, and predictable feels responsible. That is where the trap shows up. The job itself is not the danger. The danger is getting so comfortable inside a model that works today that you never build anything beyond it. You keep optimizing the engine, but you never build a second one. If you want to break that ceiling, you do not need magic. You need different math. In a normal job, 1 hour of work usually gets paid one time. You show up, do the task, get the result, and the transaction ends there. If you are not present tomorrow, the money usually does not keep arriving. There's nothing wrong with that. It is just limited. The shift starts when one block of effort can keep creating value after the original work is done. That is the difference between labor that expires at the end of the day and labor that keeps working in some form after you step away. Think about a specialized mechanic. If he fixes one car, he gets paid once, fair enough. But if he spends 10 hours creating a diagnostic guide that solves a common problem clearly, that same effort may help hundreds of people. If that guide later brings in even 50 sales at $20 each, that is $1,000 from work he only had to do once. That is the real move. Not from work to no work, but from work that ends immediately to work that can keep producing later. And that can take a lot of forms. It could be code that solves a repeat problem. It could be a process that saves a company time over and over. It could be content that keeps attracting attention. It could be a product, a license, a playbook, or invested capital that keeps generating returns without requiring a fresh sale of your time every day. The goal is not laziness. The goal is leverage. You are trying to create situations where your effort leaves something behind. So, how do you start making that shift in real life? Usually not by quitting your job. Most people romanticize the jump and underestimate the runway. In practice, your 9 to 5 is often the thing funding the transition. It gives you cash flow, it keeps your bills paid, it reduces pressure. And if you use it well, it gives you time to build something that can last longer than this week. That matters because pressure makes people impatient, and impatience usually leads to weak decisions. If your income disappears too early, you are more likely to chase bad ideas, force half-built projects, or mistake urgency for progress. A better approach is quieter. Keep the engine running while you build the second one. That second engine does not need to be grand. It could be a useful asset, a repeatable process, a small software tool, a digital product, a body of work that compounds, or a growing pool of invested capital. The format matters less than the function. What matters is whether it can keep helping you after the original effort is over. A simple question can keep you honest here. What did I create this week that could still be useful 6 months from now? If the answer is always nothing, then all of your effort is being consumed by today. You're working, but none of the work is staying behind to support you later. That is the shift in mindset. You do not need to rebuild your whole life overnight. You just need to redirect a small, consistent part of your effort away from pure delivery and towards something that can survive your absence. Even 5 hours a week matters. Over a year, that is roughly 250 hours redirected away from pure maintenance and into something that might still be useful long after the year ends. Here's the uncomfortable part. Building something beyond your job is often harder at the beginning than simply doing your job well. A job pays you this week. A second engine may pay you nothing for months. That delay is exactly why many people never commit to it. But over a long enough timeline, the risk starts to reverse. If all of your income depends on daily presence, then one injury, one layoff, one recession, one burnout cycle, or one bad year can hit much harder than it should. The model looks stable because the paycheck is regular, but underneath that surface, it is often more fragile than people admit. If you need $4,000 a month to live and 100% of that depends on you showing up tomorrow, that is one kind of risk. If even $800 of it comes from something that keeps working without your daily presence, you are still not fully free, but you are no longer standing on one leg. Even a small second engine changes the picture. If something you built covers 10% of your basic expenses, that matters. If it covers 20%, that matters even more. Not because you are suddenly free, but because your dependence drops. You think more clearly, you panic less. You make decisions with a little more room. You can say no more often. You stop negotiating as if losing one income stream would collapse the whole structure. That is the real payoff. Not fantasy freedom, not overnight escape, just a stronger position, built deliberately. Selling time is not failure. For most people, it is where adult financial life begins. The danger is not starting there. The danger is staying completely dependent on it forever. The goal is not to work less for the sake of it. The goal is to make sure your effort leaves something behind, something that keeps serving you after the day ends, after the task is finished, and after your direct presence is no longer part of the transaction. That is how work starts turning into leverage, and over time, leverage turns into room to breathe. Look at the income you received in the last 30 days and ask one simple question: how much of it would still have arrived if you had done no work at all? If the answer is 0, that is the signal. Start small and build one thing that can outlast the week. If this helped sharpen the way you think about income, subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.